July 28th, 2026. Well, so I guess Trump has now found a new way to reimpose his tariffs, which is the latest kind of development here that apparently using a law which relates to those countries which either import um, products from countries that are using coerced labor or simply don't, as I understand, have the same kind of policies that we have or something. In other words, even if they're not actually importing the products or something like that. I don't understand exactly there, but at any rate, it is a legal rationale that apparently sounded like it would pass Supreme Court approval. And so it's the way he got his tariffs back in place. And of course, so that's part of the latest pitch he's got on that subject. I think he had a campaign speech on Monday that addressed that issue and how he hopes to use that. The whole idea there, of course, is to create a situation to have a favorable situation to have jobs back in this country rather than having them overseas and then importing products. The theory is that some of these countries have an unfair advantage over us because of various factors, and therefore that would, at any rate, would bring more jobs back to the U.S. The problem, of course, is that while this may be a good idea, it takes time for it to happen. And in the short run, it tends to disrupt supply chains that have already been developed, and it takes time to replace those overseas parts manufacturers with domestic ones and get them up to speed and get everybody trained and producing the parts domestically. So in the meantime, this could actually have a adverse price effect on products over here in the short run. And of course, the short run will run after the election in the fall. So maybe the 2028 election, it might look to be a good thing, but it may not look as good in this coming November. So that's another development that's occurring. And of course, we're looking at the fall election. I'm just checking some polling. It looks like the Real Clear Politics average shows that the Democrats in the generic ballot are ahead by about 5 points, which, that varies between different polls and different methodologies. I think that that's not necessarily all that bad. I've seen the Republicans actually come off winning pretty good at a 5-point deficit, and one of the reasons is, of course, there's a lot of districts, certainly in the House, where you have a lot of concentration in Democrat urban districts where they don't just win them. They're like an AOC's district. I mean, it's just a total blowout. I mean, and so places of that sort, and maybe the downtown district in Atlanta, Georgia, or certain downtown Dallas districts and so forth. Those areas, or in LA, So that leads to a situation where on the other hand, there's many districts where the Republicans will win it, but they'll only win it by a few percent, but they'll still be likely to win it. And that distribution of districts, plus some of the redistricting we've just had this last year, may lead to a situation where the Republicans have an acceptable outcome in the House. And the Senate is more state by state again. A state like a California tends to be just a blowout for the Democrats, So, at the state level, but all those extra votes don't help them in any place like maybe a state which is much more competitive, like say a Texas even, or an Alaska, or whatever. There's very few states where the Republicans blow out like the Democrats blow out in the reds and the blue states. So that's just the way that tends to go. So at any rate, and another thing that plays into that is, of course, our Democrats, Socialists of America, communists, what do you want to call them, neo-Marxists, I tend to say, is I don't think that they're just a bunch of crazy anarchists. But the point is, these people are blowing the Democrat line, which is to pretend to be moderate and then go left when they're in office. I mean, in practice, what the two would actually do in legislative terms may not be that much different, when they're in office, but the way they're campaigning is different. And that may help the Republicans out too. For instance, if that crazy Muslim guy actually wins the Senate race in Michigan, that actually makes it a potentially winnable race for the Republicans, So, as an example, whereas if they had somebody that was more your mainstream, pretend to be moderate type Democrat, we might have a hard time winning, just like we did last time, where we had, you know, that situation and end up losing. So, anyhow, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and of course, click the bell for notifications. Or you can also follow me on Rumble because I'm posting there too. If you see it on Rumble, I'm all for you guys too. So, yeah, and so this is kind of where we are on this thing. I mean, one thing I would definitely urge everybody to do, if you have the resources to do it, an inclination, certainly I suggest contributing a certain amount of money to the National Republican Senate Committee and the National Republican Congressional Committees. Because if there's no major race that's competitive where you live, this money will be directed, especially once we get through the primaries. I hear they got involved in the Texas primary, on good grief. But anyhow, I felt they wasted their money on that one. But anyhow, and maybe help the Democrat in the long run. But the point I'm making is that that is a good way just to support the party, because they come in and run ads in winnable districts during the fall where there's a disadvantage in terms of funding. And also, don't fall too much for this thing where the Democrats are having to mortgage their national headquarters because they got so few money. I don't know what's going on with that particular thing on the party level. And the Republican Party as an apparatus is doing okay, I think, because they have a joint fundraising thing with Trump, and a lot of people give it that Trump's name is on it. But I would say that the Democrats have a lot of money, and it's going to come out because there's a bunch of crazy, kooky leftist inherited money people or whatever that are going to give to them. So, and then probably some other things. But at any rate, I would suggest that those are the two things I would recommend, except for, of course, contributing to competitive races in your own state or district. For instance, I have a race that looks kind of competitive where I live, and so since the primary is over, I started giving. And even though it wasn't my favorite candidate necessarily in that race, I mean that the key thing here, people get through their head, is stopping the Democrats. They are dangerous. Okay, if anything good happens to Republicans, it's great, but let's face it, we got a lot of good. The one big beautiful bill kept your taxes low from where they would have been. And if you happen to be a tipped worker or working a lot of paid overtime, etc., or a senior, you may get an extra break that was even beyond that. But that this is the kind of thing that's very important. And I think the Democrat socialists really are kind of pulling the curtain away from the real truth about the Democrat Party. I mean, all these people are really kind of crazy fools, and they're running mostly in urban districts, and where all the liberals are. I don't know what being close quarters with a lot of other people make your thought process be flawed, but it seems like it does work. I mean, to do that. But I think that it's important that we really get into this race because and the key theme I'm trying to hit here is that a vote for the Democrats this year is a vote for chaos in the United States. I think it really could go in a very bad direction. Of course, if the Democrats win control of the House, they're going to impeach Trump. That's a given. I mean, that's not a question; it's a fact. And if they win the Senate, they'll probably have a trial. But I doubt they'll actually be able to remove him from office simply because it takes a 2/3 vote, 67 senators. I doubt they're going to get anywhere close to that. And of course, I mean, remember that historically, Andrew Johnson, and after the Civil War, during radical Reconstruction, if you remember your history, he failed to be removed by only one vote, but that kept him in office for the rest of his term, much to the frustration of the Reconstruction Republicans. But the point is, that's the same kind of thing we're looking at here. I don't think you're going to get a majority removed from office for their various bogus issues that they put up. But we're talking chaos. And in fact, they may force a situation where Trump actually does do some very unconstitutional things. I mean, right now, we have a situation where can we get a budget passed? Not necessarily the budget even that Trump wants, but a budget passed at all. These guys are going to do another shutdown in the fall. I mean, that's what's going to happen. I mean, for sure. I mean, does anybody doubt it? Unless we can I would almost suggest passing a reconciliation bill which simply puts enough money or puts a provision in it, or how you want to put it, that essentially the spending level will be, let's say, 90% of what the spending was in the previous year, if a budget isn't passed. This effectively a continuing resolution for the year at a lower spending level, and then we can battle it out over the trying to get back to the full amount, and maybe even make the defense level equal to what it was, something like that. Because if we don't do that, then we're going to have another one of those shutdown battles, and then they're going to want to put in all their crazy ideas in order to get just a continuing resolution. And so imagine where you're going to be if the Democrats take control of one of the houses or both of them, heaven forbid, and we have 2 years of this kind of battling going on, which is what's really likely to happen if they win. And I think this needs to be a major campaign theme. Of course, we're playing up the Democrat socialist insane ideas. What isn't being said a whole lot is a lot of them can't really happen unless they somehow just completely abrogate the entire Constitution. Now, what they could do once they get fully in power of all branches of government, President, House, and Senate, is after you end the filibuster, they can pack the Supreme Court with a bunch of skills that will simply ignore what the Constitution is completely and simply pass all kind of legislative rulings, which may even mean that if the Constitution says the government shall not do something, they'll say, no, you can do something, or you must do it. Who knows? They may be that radical. I wouldn't rule anything out with these people. Even the mainstream Democrats are just a bunch of wolves in sheep clothing who try to pretend like they're moderate until they get in power. But they're very irresponsible. And then again, of course, John Fetterman, the one Democrats now come out just agreeing with what I've been saying all along about the value of the filibuster, preserving some degree of stability in the country. And yet, there's another problem could happen. This budget battling could get so chaotic that who knows what would happen on this. I could even imagine, in a worst case scenario, of literal unconstitutional spending could occur. And of course, that would be an impeachable offense. But what if they do the impeachment and they don't get their 67 votes? Well, they only get 60 votes. You see what I mean? And that could lead to very chaotic situations and protests, and you know what I mean. The kind of thing we don't want to see, what they call a constitutional crisis. But eventually, if the whole thing is falling apart, it might become necessary to do whatever you have to do. That's why states of emergency occur when there's actually an emergency. And I think the Democrats could very well force us into something like this because they're completely irresponsible at this point. And that may mean we'll end up becoming less responsible ourselves. And maybe not. So this is the kind of thing why I say a vote for the Democrats is a vote for chaos. People out there that disagree with me, I would suggest vote for the Republicans this year. And if you really want to do it, and wait to 2028 so it isn't so chaotic. Except that, of course, you're going to lose your country if you vote for the Democrats then, if they get fully in control. I hear this Napolitano going, the danger is right now. No, the danger isn't now. It's in 2029. That's when the danger is. And it could really happen. But maybe it won't. Maybe we'll be lucky. And it's essential the Republicans hold at least one of three things: the House, the Senate, or the presidency. If we lose all three in the future, whoa. It's going to be big. So anyway, I'll be wrapping this one up for now. I'll be, of course, posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and my social media accounts are in the description below, so all for this time.